our consulate in Benghazi, we still do not have the answer. Senator Lindsey Graham is accusing President Obama of playing politics with national security. Senator Graham joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Senator, I want to first talk about a story that Jennifer Griffin broke this evening on Special Report with Brett Baer, that a Tunisian is in custody in Tunisia. He was spotted on camera with at the consulate at the time of the attack, and then he was picked up in Turkey as he tried to go transfer through an airport there with false papers, turned over to the people of Tunisia, and the American authorities have not been able to have access to this man to ask him questions. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, number one, it would be very disturbing if al-Qaeda operatives in Libya can talk to al-Qaeda operatives in Tunisia. That shows they have a regional effect. So if a guy from Tunisia was able to come down to Benghazi, Libya, that means they're talking to each other in a way we hadn't seen before. But Tunisia, I've been there twice since Ben Ali was thrown out, since the revolution. This is where the Arab Spring started. I know the Prime Minister very well. I called the Tunisian embassy tonight. They're going to get back with me tomorrow. I'm stunned to hear that Tunisians are denying us access to question this man. I find that very disturbing and, quite frankly, hard to believe. And I'm going to call the Tunisian officials and get to the bottom of it. I'm not so sure we're trying very hard to get to the bottom of it here at home. I think the Obama administration stonewalling the Congress and misleading the American people. I've written almost half a dozen letters to the administration. I haven't heard one word back.
So you think that a conversation with the Tunisian authorities will give us access to this man that's in custody?
Well, I'm going to find out. I'm shocked that they're not giving us access. They've worked very well with the CIA. I'm the ranking Republican on our foreign aid subcommittee on appropriations. You know, we're in charge of the money. Yes, I'm going to ask the Tunisians, why can't we have access to this person that we believe was involved in an attack on our consulate? And, you know, this storm is a terrible thing for America, and I appreciate what President Obama is doing to try to help people, but I wish he'd give some attention in Benghazi, Libya, when it would have mattered. There was an al-Qaeda storm brewing for months. Our consulate was attacked in April, attacked again in June. The British ambassador was attacked in June. The British withdrew. The Red Cross withdrew from Benghazi. They saw the al-Qaeda storm brewing and building, and they evacuated. We did not. We did nothing to reinforce this consulate. It became a death trap, and the president went to a fundraiser right after this event. And, you know, he said he was offended by the criticism. I'm quite frankly offended by this administration not being honest with the American people and sharing any information with Congress.
Secretary of Defense Panetta has said, because there's been some criticism, that the United States, at least, is thought that they didn't respond to some requests for help on the ground. He said something to the effect that we don't send people into danger without knowing the consequence. I know that you're also a member of the military reserves and a U.S. Senator, but you have any thought about that?
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of military members be shocked to hear that. How many operations have we launched to help comrades in distress, not knowing what the outcome would be, but knowing that's what we should do? And here's what the American people don't realize. In June, our consulate was attacked on June the 6th. They blew a hole in the wall that 40 people could go through. About a week later, the British ambassador's convoy was attacked in Benghazi, Libya. Guess who came to their aid? Lieutenant Colonel Wood, an American military member, a member of the Utah National Guard, part of a security team, left the American consulate to come to the aid of the British ambassador and extracted wounded people out of the convoy while it was being attacked by al-Qaeda. I find it very odd that we can help the British, and I'm glad we did, because they're our best friends in the world. We were able to help them in June, but nobody could help our people on September the 11th. Don't you find that a little odd that we could get to the British convoy in Benghazi, Libya, within 20 minutes of being attacked in June, but we couldn't help them for over 7 hours on September 11th? I find that very disturbing.
What's your, there's so many unanswered questions, and President Obama has not sat down to answer questions. He's had a couple questions thrown at him, and he's responded to. But I'm curious, what's going on here?
I think he's trying to run out the clock. The question, There were 3 requests for assistance. The president told us that he told his people to help those folks, provide assistance. Well, nobody went to their aid. Why not? Was the president told of the April and June attacks on our consulate? Why did we leave our consulate open when the British and the Red Cross decided to leave Benghazi because it was too dangerous? How did it become a death trap? Why did we deny all the requests for security? You don't need an independent panel to address that. The president knows whether or not he was informed of the previous attacks in April and June. The president knows whether or not anybody tried to help after he ordered them to help these folks. And the president cannot possibly believe 10 days after this attack, this was a riot based on a mob that never existed. They're not answering my questions or anyone else's questions because I believe they're trying to run out the clock here.
Senator, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The FBI, though, meanwhile, is finally on the ground in Tunisia, thanks to 2 Republican United States senators. President Obama didn't make it happen. It was Republican Senator Saxby and Chambliss and Senator Lindsey Graham who did it, and they both did it in 2 days. So the good news, tonight, the FBI is in Tunisia to finally question in person the Tunisian man caught on video at the Benghazi consulate during the terror attack. So how come 2 Republican U.S. senators could get done in 2 days what the President of the United States could not get done in weeks? Senator Lindsey Graham joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So what is the explanation? I would think, with all due respect to the United States Senate, that if you were the President of the United States, you have more muscle than you do if you're a member of the U.S. Senate. And the FBI has been trying to talk to this man in Tunisia. Tunisia has said no. And then you and Senator Chambliss got into it 2 nights ago, and voila, you could talk to him.
Well, I wrote a letter 2 days ago to the ambassador, U.S. ambassador, Tunisian ambassador of the United States, saying that this is a defining moment in our relationship. I'm the ranking Republican on the Foreign Aid Appropriations Subcommittee, so I know Tunisia well. I know the Prime Minister. And within 2 days, we were able to get the FBI on the ground. I want to thank the Tunisian government for making this person available to be interviewed by our law enforcement officials, our investigative team. It's not enough to write questions. You have to be on the ground to look people in the eye. And Tunisia came through, and 2 days after the letter, here we are.
Well, yes, but I mean, and it's quite extraordinary because the investigation has been stuck, and my hat goes off to you for getting it done, for picking up the ball and running with it. But the President of the United States, I suspect, has just as much influence, if not more, than 2 U.S. senators. And so, what is your explanation for the fact that you guys had to jump into this?
Well, my belief is that this administration is trying to run out the clock when it comes to Benghazi. This is a story that changes by the day. What do we know? We know that before the attack, in April and June of this year, the consulate was attacked twice. We know that the British withdrew their closed their consulate after the British ambassador was attacked in June. We know the Red Cross closed their office in Benghazi after the attack on the Red Cross office. We know that on August the 15th, Ambassador Stevens and his security team met and discussed the fact that 10 al-Qaeda groups have been identified to be roaming around Benghazi, and that they told the State Department, Secretary Clinton, August the 16th, if there's a coordinated al-Qaeda attack, the consulate will be overrun. So that's what we know before the attack. During the attack, we know that 7-8 hours goes by and not one military person was able to help these poor people for over 7 hours on September the 11th. And after the attack, the administration for almost 2 weeks blamed this on a video, a mob, and a riot that never existed. The president has been AWOL when it comes to Benghazi, Libya leadership. They've been denying and deceiving the public, and the fact that they haven't pushed hard to get access to this witness is just part of the narrative of running out the clock.
Well, it's absolutely extraordinary because he said that he was going to get us answers. And I'm not suggesting that
right.
And I'm not suggesting that the FBI's interrogation be made public, but it certainly makes a lot more sense to get him in a time close to the event rather than waiting 3 years or 3 months or whatever. And it's extraordinary that we would not have wanted to get in there quickly, or even that the FBI and the FBI director. I'm surprised he didn't hound the president. I want to get in there. I want our people to interview this. You want to find out what happened in this murder? Let's move fast now, and especially since anybody else who's involved is going to scatter.
Well, this has been the story of Libya for months. The people on the ground in Libya are begging and pleading for additional security. They're being denied additional security, military and civilian security, U.S. security, because we wanted to, quote, normalize relationships with Libyan government that didn't exist in Benghazi. This has been a travesty of errors. It's been incompetency at every level of our government. It's been a lack of leadership by the president. President Obama's in denial when it comes to the true state of al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is alive and well throughout the Mideast. They're counterattacking, and our attack on our consulate in Benghazi, Libya, is Exhibit A of a failed foreign policy of leading from behind. But you could see this coming for months. The people on August the 15th had a meeting and said, we cannot withstand a coordinated attack.
But I mean, there's all the sort of alarms or red lights, whether it's the attack in June or whatever, in terms of security. But but then we go into sort of stage 2, which is what has happened since then, and it's not only the
Benghazi. This has been a travesty of errors. It's been incompetency at every level of our government. It's been a lack of leadership by the president. President Obama's in denial when it comes to the true state of al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is alive and well throughout the Mideast. They're counterattacking, and our attack on our consulate in Benghazi, Libya, is Exhibit A of a failed foreign policy of leading from behind. But you could see this coming for months. The people on August the 15th had a meeting and said, we cannot withstand a coordinated attack.
But I mean, there's all the sort of alarms or red lights, whether it's the attack in June or whatever, in terms of security. But but then we go into sort of stage 2, which is what has happened since then. And it's not only that no one bothered to try to see this Tunisian guy. I mean, if 2 U.S. senators can make a phone call and send a letter and get us contact, but the President of the United States can't, that's stunning. But there's even more than that, is that the FBI did visit Benghazi after the attack sometime and left. But then fast forward to last week, October 26th, foreign policy journalists go in there after the places, people have been walking all over the place and looking at it, and they recovered documents that are critical to this investigation. Like the FBI didn't even bother. Like nobody even cared. Nobody even cared that 4 Americans are dead. It's a shabby investigation. We're not talking to people. 4 people died. And I mean, you wouldn't even see that kind of investigation in a local homicide case.
I hope the people of the United States who really do care about our national security will understand the poor leadership by this president. Governor Christie said, I was called 3 times by the president. What can I do to help the people of New Jersey? The president has taken on a leadership role when it comes to Hurricane Sandy. He's been AWOL when it comes to Libya from day 1 until now. There has really been no effort by this administration to help the people when they were under attack. This administration ignored many warnings coming from Benghazi, Libya, about the state of play. They've been telling us and the entire world al-Qaeda has been dismantled. It was clear to anybody who was listening to what was happening in Libya that al-Qaeda was taking Benghazi over. The President of the United States let the consulate in Libya become a death trap. During the attack, he said he ordered people to help those in Libya, to come to the aid of the people in Libya. Not one person came to their aid. Did they ignore his order, or did he ever even give the order? After the attack, he's been making excuses that have no absolute sense or bearing to the real facts. The person I blame above all else is President Barack Obama. He has oversold the dismantling of al-Qaeda. He spiked the ball when bin Laden was killed and created a sense of security that doesn't exist. And he let these poor people in Libya go into a death trap and didn't do anything about it.
But then we go back to my point, is that once all that happened, And Americans want to know what happened to our any murder investigation.
Right.
Is he doesn't bother to say to the director of the FBI, look, if you have trouble getting into Tunisia and talk to him, give me a call. I'll make a phone call so that 2 U.S. senators 8 weeks from now don't have to do my heavy lifting. I have to outsource to 2 U.S. citizens. I mean, it's...
Let's just walk through. How hard would it have been for the president to pick up the phone to the Prime Minister of Tunisia and say, we're not asking you to turn him over to us. We just want access to this witness. We want to be good allies. We're helping your country get back on your feet. 4 Americans were murdered, the first ambassador in 33 years. I want to get to the bottom of this. Mr. Prime Minister, we need your help. I had one conversation. 48 hours later, the FBI is on the ground. It wasn't that hard. There is no sense of urgency about this investigation. They're trying to run out the clock. There was no sense of...
You say it's no sense of urgency. I frankly don't think that, I don't think he cares. Because, if I were in charge of the investigation... You know what, though? If you want to get the facts, he's a lawyer.
Right.
You move in really fast. If you've got someone who is a suspect on the scene who is part of this, you know the person's in custody. We don't sit around and say, let's talk to him next year. You move right now. Any detective in any homicide case in any community in this country is going to tell. You don't just ignore it and look the other way and let it sit like this.
They don't want the truth to come out about Benghazi, Libya before next Tuesday, because if it does come out and it becomes crystal clear to the American people, it will show a failure of leadership by President Obama, that his foreign policy is not working, that al-Qaeda has not been dismantled. They're very much on the rise, and leading from behind is not a viable strategy to make a safe and a dangerous world. That's why you're not going to find anything other than pulling teeth from this administration. That's why they're not picking up the phone and calling people what any other person would do if they wanted to get to the bottom of it. They don't want to get to the bottom of Libya before the election. They want the election to come. Then they'll worry about Libya later. And they thank God for Fox News. Thank God for other outlets like CBS. Thank God for the House Oversight Committee. If it weren't for a probing press and some people in the House and some people in the Senate, we wouldn't know anything about Libya. This president promised transparency, and the only way you find out anything is to just have brave Americans come forward and tell you the truth in spite of what the administration is trying to do.
And I'm going to throw in foreign policy, who discovered the documents last week in Benghazi, the ones that the FBI didn't bother to see or pick up. Senator, I'm going to take the last word on that, though. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.